Let's get it on then, shall we? Mwah. Welcome to Sex on the Peach, your weekly hump day dose of everyone's favourite untalked about topic, sex. Let's get honest, let's get open, let's get comfortable, and let's get into this week's show. Friends, lovers, listeners, happy Wednesday, happy hump day, and happy Sex on the Peach day. I hope that everyone is having as good a January as is physically possible, because I always think that January is literally fucking terrible. And I've also realised that I tend to lose my sex drive a little bit in January. And I think it's because I hate being cold. Like so much more than anything else. It turns me into such a hermit. So unless we are cutting a hole in like a fleece onesie, I'm simply not willing to take my clothes off for anyone or anything. And B, I just feel like January is such a month of pressure. And we all know by now that pressure and pleasure are not friends that work together in harmony. In fact, I'd go so far as to say January gives me the ick, truly gives me the ick, especially for all my self-employed friends. It's basically a lead up to paying our fucking tax bills, which is not sexy in any universe. But coming back to this episode, the combination of pressure and getting naked is very fitting for January, because you cannot breathe for seeing every fitness account under the sun telling you to get back on track after Christmas. And oh my God, did you derail your fitness goals over the holiday period? And oh shit, time to get working on that beach body, because don't you know, summer bodies are made in winter. It's exhausting. I am also someone who is relatively unaffected by this, and even I am still like, please actually shut the fuck up, kindly. And that's not to say that people can't and shouldn't have fitness and nutrition goals. Like, whatever you want to do to feel good for yourself, amazing. But it's the fact that society and the fitness and diet industry leech on to this time of year to make people feel shame for potentially resting or eating a little more than they normally would over a festive holiday. And isn't January hard enough? So today we're going to be talking all about body confidence in the bedroom, because let's face it, getting naked can be terrifying. Surely the last time we all had peak body confidence was when we were like toddlers, giving I'm wearing a nappy and a tiara to the supermarket and you'll all fucking deal with it energy. Imagine if we could continue channeling that into our adulthood. Because the whole let's get naked moment can bring up a lot of insecurities for people, which makes sense because it's vulnerable, and we've also been taught absolute nonsense about how we should look. And we've probably all had an experience at some point in our lives where someone has made us feel shit about ourselves in that capacity. With all of that stuff compounding, and with very little neutral education about bodies, it's no surprise we have no idea how to approach this stuff, because it doesn't always have to be the extremities of positive or negative, or anorexia versus obesity. There's everything in between that is very rarely addressed, and we're going to get into all of that today. And I want to try and help all of you understand that whilst, of course, self-love is important, it's probably unreasonable to suggest that we will love every single tiny little bit of ourselves, but We can find a way to rationalize and understand that even those bits that we aren't so keen on, our partners might truly and honestly love them. And that doesn't mean that you then have to like them, but it does mean you can find a way to believe and accept that someone else does. Because one thing's for sure, once your confidence in your body improves, so will your sex life. And I'm not saying that's easy, but it's definitely possible. So today we are tackling it head on. Let's get into today's episode as a play on one of the most controversial ad campaigns when it comes to bodies. Here is, are you bedroom body ready? Okay, so before we get into things, I want to address something because I can also acknowledge that whilst I have committed myself to a lot of education on everything sex related, including body confidence, and so everything I talk about does often come from an educational place, when it comes to personal experience, I am also heavily aware that I sit naturally in quite a petite frame, and therefore I haven't experienced the same marginalization that other body sizes or body types may have. And I don't like to feel like a hypocrite sitting here and saying, just be confident. Not that I will be saying quite that, but you know what I mean. When people may naturally sit in bodies that have been told not to be confident through the media or through society for as long as they can remember. So some people will have more to unpack than others when it comes to this, because as much as we have all been subjected to influence and unrealistic beauty standards across the board, there is no denying that larger bodies have been dismissed and disparaged and the subject of derogatory humour in a way that other bodies just haven't. I mean, look at Friends or that fucking horrible movie Shallow Hal. Larger bodies have been told via media and society that they are unworthy of love and sexual desire and pleasure in a way that is fucking disgusting. And I am heavily aware of that. And so I just want to make that acknowledgement that I will be coming at this from an educational place. But when I talk about my own personal experiences, I know that society has, for the most part, been on my side. And I want you to know that even though I see you, I hear you, and I am always, always with you, I also haven't had the experiences that some of you have, and I really do appreciate that. And this isn't negating the body insecurities and lack of body confidence for people of all sizes, but it needs to be acknowledged because I found it hard to see the body positivity movement hijacked by bodies that had not been marginalized and then refused to see what the movement was originally for. And I compare this to something extremely profound and significant, but it's like the Black Lives Matter, All Lives Matter debate. Yes, all lives matter, but is your life being put predominantly in danger? No, this isn't your movement. And it was the same in the body positivity movement, which was filled with, but everyone deserves to be positive about their body, no matter their size. Well, yes, no shit. I desperately want that for all of you. But this movement was for bodies that had been disproportionately shamed in the media for literally ever. And I'm digressing a bit here because, as always, this episode and this podcast is an inclusive space for every single body of every size, shape, and ability. And I mean, I come from a dance background where size 6 bodies were completely inappropriately called fat in ballet classes. But I do want there to be an awareness of the difference between insecurities that arise because of the insane beauty standards projected onto people, even when they are in a more societally accepted body, and those that have had insecurities absolutely forced on them because they have been actively shamed through society forever. And I want to say at this point, every single body is beautiful and every single body is deserving of pleasure in the way it desires. However, I actually would love the focus to shift away from body positivity and more towards body neutrality, where actually our physical body aesthetic quite simply becomes less of an important factor because we are more focused on other things, like what our bodies can do, the pleasure we can get from them, the pleasure we can give our partners with them, and just focusing on being present in our intimate moments. And whilst I think there are definitely social media spaces that are becoming more inclusive, which is something we didn't always have, societal and media bullshit probably sadly isn't going anywhere. And so it is up to us to take control of the narrative we hold for our own bodies. We owe ourselves that, and that's how we fight back against the system, by taking control of ourselves. Because it's true that when we die, no one is going to care what size we were. And you deserve so much better than letting it hold you back whilst you are here with a body to experience pleasure with. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I will continue to say it. Letting go of the shackles of society is incredibly freeing and liberating. And I promise you, there is no omnipresent God of society who decides who is worthy and who isn't. It is all made up, indoctrinated shit, and it is affecting far too many of us. It is holding you back from living your life, from living your pleasure. And honestly, confidence in the bedroom is like cooking. What you bring to the table matters so much more than how shiny your pots and pans are. Probably not the best metaphor for me, actually, because I'm a fucking terrible cook, but we'll go with it for now. So I put some polls out to my gorgeous, gorgeous followers on the Instagram to get some insights before today's episode. And the first one was, do you feel confident in your body? And 17% said, yes, I embrace it. And 83% said, still working on it. Do you think that body confidence impacts your experience in the bedroom? 75% said, absolutely. 23% sometimes. And 2% not really. Have you ever felt insecure about your body in a relationship? 89% said yes, definitely, and 11% not really. Do you feel pressure to look a certain way in the bedroom? Yes, always, 35%. Yes, sometimes, 48%. And not really, 17%. Do you think body confidence is all about self-love or about validation from partners or others? All about self-love, baby, was 30%. Compliments from others was interestingly 0%, which is great. And a mixture of both was 50%. Finally, not sure, it's really fucking complicated was 20%, which is probably what I would have gone with because it is really fucking complicated. Do you think that media representations and societal beauty standards and social media affect how you feel about your body? Yes, a lot was 55%, yes, a bit, 39%, and no, it's all complete nonsense was 6%. And lastly, in this bit we're talking about now, is body image something you think about before or during intimate moments? Yes, I think about it a lot was 39%. It pops into my head a bit at 40%. And no, I just focus on the moment, 21%. Love that for the 21% of you. First of all, this was one of the highest levels of response I've had from polls that I have put out there for this podcast. So thank you so much to everyone who took part and for your vulnerability in doing so. But given that thousands of people responded, I think what we can take from these polls is that so many more people are affected by their body confidence in the bedroom than aren't. And I personally and directly know a lot of the people who responded, and to see how they feel about their bodies is so saddening to me because I want to shake you all and tell you how beautiful you all are. So let's start with the big question. Why is body confidence in the bedroom such a challenge? And it all starts with how we see ourselves. Body image and confidence, it's a bit like they are dance partners. They are constantly moving together. So when one stumbles, the other one feels it too. Because it's all about perception. How do you see yourself? How do you think others see you? Those little internal stories that you tell yourself can have a big impact on how you show up in intimate moments. Vulnerability, which is the whole foundation of intimacy, really, can feel like, for all my performer friends out there, our worst nightmare, stepping out on stage in a spotlight with no costume, no script, no fucking idea what you're about to do or what's about to happen. It's just you. There's no filters. There's no posing. There's no carefully chosen angles. And let's be honest, that is hard. When you are already carrying insecurities about weight or scars or skin, or even something like the way your stomach looks in certain positions, it's so easy to get caught up in your own head. You're not thinking about the connection or the moment. You're thinking, is my partner noticing this? Does that look weird? It's like trying to enjoy being at a concert or being at a gig while actually you're just worrying about whether your parking has run out outside. You know what I mean? Like, you're not focusing. You've gone to watch a film at the cinema and you're like, oh shit, like, did I leave the oven on at home? Did I lock my front door? Like, your whole thought process is completely preoccupied. We all have these hang-ups that can build a wall between us and that beautiful, vulnerable connection that intimacy is supposed to bring. And the more we zero in on what we think are our flaws, the more self-conscious we get. And self-consciousness is an absolute mood killer. It's like having a little critic in your head constantly whispering, what if they notice this? What if I look terrible in that light? Instead of actually just enjoying the moment, you're just mentally spinning your wheels, stuck in a loop of self-doubt. Thoughts like, are they staring at my stretch marks? What does my cellulite look like right now? They're all just confidence thieves. They hijack your brain and they pull you so far out of the experience that you forget to actually feel anything, emotionally or physically. And for some people, that gets so bad that it stops them from wanting intimacy altogether. And when you're so worried about being judged, intimacy then can start to feel like a performance. It becomes less about connection and more about hitting imaginary checkboxes for how you should look or act. That kind of pressure makes intimacy feel exhausting instead of exciting. And nobody's signing up for that. And negative body image isn't just about not liking how you look. It's tied to deeper emotional struggles like shame or low self-esteem or feeling like you are not enough. And once again, these emotions can make intimacy feel overwhelming because it's a moment where we are at our most exposed. When these feelings go unchecked, they can seep into your relationship, and what might start as personal, small insecurities can spiral into misunderstandings or projection or frustration with your partner, even if they are supportive. And over time, this can create emotional distance or resentment on both sides, especially if one partner feels like they are doing everything they can to try and help and support and getting nothing back. Because it's not just about how you see yourself, it's about how that perception influences your ability to connect and trust. And I know it's going to feel like I'm banging on about this for a while, but if we don't look at the root causes of why we feel this way, nothing is going to get any better. It's like sticking a plaster on something. It just covers up the issue, but it won't heal it. So we need to understand why we need to start practicing self-love and positive self-talk before we do it. So why is it that so many of us struggle with body confidence, especially when it comes to intimacy? Well, as already mentioned, society's beauty standards are, of course, one of the biggest culprits behind negative body image. The media, advertising, social media influencers. Also, we need to rename them because if you are an influencer, you work in marketing. Like, just say it how it is. Anyway, all of these facets of our lives push this narrow, very often unattainable idea of what is sexy or desirable. It's the same formula: lean, toned, symmetrical, flawless, and completely unrealistic for most people, and also unrealistic for them because these standards are not real. They are curated, they are edited, and they are airbrushed to the point that they don't resemble actual bodies. Yet we compare ourselves to these fabricated images and end up feeling like we are falling short. In fact, sometimes we've all been guilty of editing our own photos, posting them, and looking at those photos of ourselves and wondering why we don't look like that. Looking in the mirror and being like, why don't I look like myself in this picture? Because it was never real. Because it didn't exist in the first place. You are comparing yourself to something that is not in existence. It isn't real. And this constant pressure to live up to an impossible ideal just leaves you feeling inadequate. Especially, of course, in vulnerable, intimate situations. How are you supposed to feel confident when you are holding yourself to a standard that was never meant to be attainable or even real? It's not even tangible. It doesn't exist. And for my fellow women, my fellow vulva owners, I'm sure we can all agree the message is abundantly clear. You should be thin but curvy and have a small waist, but full hips, toned arms, toned legs. We are bombarded with images of perfect bodies that align with these standards. And anything outside of this mold is deemed less than or imperfect. It's just a constant onslaught of images of perfection that are totally unrealistic. Like, whilst most of us have been growing up, how often do we really see a rom-com with a lead who isn't airbrushed to oblivion? Or we're overwhelmed by messaging like, lose 10 pounds in 10 days so you can fit into your sexy lingerie. Like, no, thank you. Our bodies are not DIY projects. And I mean, we all know I fucking love a DIY project, but your body is not one. Sorry, can we talk about the Special K diet? Don't know who lived through that generation along with me, but what the fuck was that? And even some of those after photos in gym ads. Obviously, some people do work extremely hard on their fitness goals and reach fitness levels for themselves that feel amazing. And obviously, if that is your thing and it makes you happy and you enjoy it, then I love that for you. But the sad fact is we are overstimulated with accounts like this, and a lot of them are not even real. They use filters, they use body altering apps, and even worse, they are using AI a lot of the time now. And I personally know people who have done those programs, had those photo shoots, and once again, like I was talking about the editing earlier, feel inadequate compared to themselves in those photos because the lifestyle that went with it was completely unsustainable. So they didn't sustain it, and they maybe gained a little bit of weight or gained a little bit of the specific shape they had worked so hard to create. And it's all dangerous, but we internalize all that nonsense and we take it straight to the bedroom. The expectation to have smooth, cellulite-free skin and to be free of visible stretch marks, body hair or blemishes, these messages about what a body should look like can make it extremely difficult for many people to feel comfortable in their own skin, particularly, of course, during intimate moments. That fear of judgment or rejection by a partner for having natural, what we would call imperfections, they're just parts of a body, but it can be paralyzing. It results in self-consciousness, anxiety, and as I already said, sometimes the avoidance of intimacy altogether, and you fucking deserve better. Because let's talk about some of these ridiculous flaws we supposedly have, which are just quite literally extremely normal parts of a human body. Because I got a fair amount of questions about cellulite, about stretch marks, and about body hair. So if you are one of the lovely people who sent me a question about any of these, I'm going to sum up the answers in this, and I really hope it helps. But to start, cellulite. Let's look at the language that we even use around it. I mean, I love oranges, but I don't for a second think it's meant as a positive when it's referred to as orange peel skin, or even worse, cottage cheese thighs. It is one of the most misunderstood and unfairly demonized aspects of the human body. It is not a medical condition. It is not a flaw. It is simply a result of how fat, connective tissue, and skin interact. It can be influenced by genetics, hormones, age, and yes, sometimes lifestyle. But despite its natural presence, in up to 90% of women and some men, cellulite has become a source of shame and insecurity, even though it's a phenomenon that didn't even exist until the early 20th century. Before the 1920s, the dimples and ripples that we now call cellulite were not considered problematic at all. In fact, there's historical evidence in classical art and literature that shows a celebration of soft, dimpled skin as a sign of health and fertility. But by the time the 1960s rolled around, that term had been taken from a medical dictionary where it was explained as inflammation or infection of cells or tissues. It actually had nothing to do with the dimples or fatty tissue we associate with cellulite today. And now magazines and advertisements were perpetuating the narrative that cellulite was unsightly and needed to be fixed, pushing expensive creams, treatments, and even invasive procedures to cure something that wasn't even an issue in the first place. Cellulite was a perfect target for the beauty industry because it affects a large area of the body and can't be completely eliminated. So it's an ideal opportunity for companies to market products by turning a natural common occurrence into something that needed a solution. They just want your fucking money. It is no coincidence that the societal obsession with cellulite coincided with shifts in women's fashion, particularly the rise of shorter hemlines and swimsuits, which left more skin exposed, paired with the increasing influence of visual media like television and glossy magazines. This created a perfect storm for body-conscious marketing. Suddenly, cellulite became a flaw that women were taught to hide or eliminate, even though it had been considered normal and very unremarkable for centuries. And thanks to increased awareness of how beauty standards are artificially constructed, yes, many fitness trainers, dermatologists, and body image activists are working to debunk the myths surrounding cellulite, emphasizing it doesn't indicate poor health, it doesn't indicate laziness, and it certainly fucking doesn't indicate any moral failing. It's just a normal part of being a human. No more noteworthy than freckles, scars, stretch marks, anything else. So the next time you find yourself scrutinizing those dimples in the mirror, remind yourself that their flaw label is an invention, an entirely modern invention. It is time to reclaim that narrative and recognize cellulite for what it truly is, a completely normal, stunningly common part of life. Stretch marks, again, are another completely natural and incredibly common feature of the human body. These appear when the skin stretches or shrinks rapidly, whether that's during puberty, pregnancy, significant weight changes, or even just muscle growth. That rapid change just causes the collagen and the elastin in the skin to tear, and it leads to thin scars that start out, depending on your skin, maybe red, sometimes purple or dark brown, and then fade over time to that sort of silvery, lighter hue. Obviously, it's all dependent on your skin tone. But once again, historically, stretch marks weren't always viewed negatively. It wasn't until, no fucking surprise here, the rise of airbrushing in magazines. Again, they want your fucking money. Skincare brands capitalized on that insecurity, offering creams, oils, treatments that promise to erase stretch marks, even though there is no proven method to make them completely disappear. Whenever something claims to have this huge effect, I'm like, cite your sources. Send me to the study. I want to see it. And again, luckily, we are starting to see a shift, and stretch marks are starting to be celebrated rather than seen as something to hide. And there are some influencers, models, celebrities proudly displaying their stretch marks and reclaiming them as beautiful, because stretch marks tell a story of life, of growth, of change, resilience, whether they are on your hips, your thighs, your boobs, your stomach, your arms. They are a testament to the incredible adaptability of the human body, and that deserves to be embraced, not erased. And someone sent in a comment to this week's episode saying, I used to hate my stretch marks until my partner called them lightning bolts and said they were proof I'm a badass. Now I wear them like a badge of honor. And that's the kind of fucking energy that we are talking about. And lastly, body hair, the most natural and universal feature of the human body. Biologically, let's get scientific for a little second, shall we? Because we haven't yet this episode. Biologically, body hair serves multiple purposes. It helps regulate your body temperature. It provides a barrier against dirt and bacteria, and despite its practical functions, body hair, especially on women and vulva owners, has been subjected to insanely intense scrutiny. And let's look at why. When sleeveless dresses became fashionable in the 1920s, advertisers began promoting razors to women, framing underarm hair as unhygienic and unfeminine. By the 1940s, this trend expanded to the legs, and by the 1960s, bikini lines were the focus. In fact, razor companies like Gillette played a significant role in promoting the idea that women should remove their underarm hair for aesthetic reasons. In 1915, Gillette launched an ad campaign aimed at women highlighting the importance of smooth, hairless armpits. And this was one of the first instances of mass marketing linking beauty and femininity to hairless skin. In the decades that followed, razor companies continuously marketed their products to women. Advertisements commonly use phrases like smooth and silky and bare and beautiful, and that just creates an ideal that positions body hair as something undesirable and thus a need for hair removal. Essentially, once again, I feel very passionately about this, the razor companies created a problem that didn't necessarily exist before. They framed body hair as undesirable and something to be removed for beauty and hygiene, or to sell their products because they want your money. The beauty industry doesn't give a fuck about you. It doesn't care about your cellulite or your stretch marks or your body hair or your skin that might be aging, because guess the fuck what? We all get older. They just want your money. This pressure has always been rooted more in profit than in necessity. And in the end, body hair is just that, hair. Its presence or its absence doesn't define beauty, doesn't define hygiene or femininity, and embracing it in whatever way feels right for you is an act of self-love and empowerment. And listen, I have to be honest, way back when I bought into this about body hair. And I guess part of this is because when I was younger, I used to work a lot more as a dancer, and I used to work in clubs, and I would wear fairly revealing outfits. And for ease, I had laser hair removal. So I have very little body hair now, and especially in the genital area. Fast forward some years and I'm auditioning for the musical Hair, right? And there is a scene in that musical where everyone has to get completely naked. And when it must have been, I think it was my final audition for it. And they had a conversation with everyone about, well, I suppose maybe more so the vulva owners, but a conversation about being comfortable with allowing ourselves to grow our hair out because that was more natural for the time. There again, as we see at that time period where it was set in the 60s, everyone was just growing out their fucking hair and it was fine. That we would be comfortable with letting our hair grow in our genital area because it was more natural and fitting for the time. And I then had to say, well, I've had laser hair removal, so I actually don't really grow hair there anymore. And they said, okay, no problem. We'll have to get you fitted for a merkin, right? Which is a pubic wig. Also fitted. I love that. Like everyone just getting their genitals measured. I didn't get the job, so it didn't matter. Didn't have to wear the merkin. But, my point is, that was the trend at the time. So it was all just trends. So like stop being fooled into thinking that you have to look one certain way, because who fucking knows, like the full bush will be back in next week. And if ever I hear anyone dare to say, I don't like pubic hair on a woman, even though I don't have any, it makes me so fucking angry, and it makes me wish I had that merkin. It makes me wish I could immediately grow all my fucking hair back, because you don't have a right to tell a woman what she should or shouldn't do with her body hair. If that's your preference, just honestly shut the fuck up about it and get out, because it's not okay to tell someone else what they should or shouldn't be doing with something that is a natural facet of the human body. That's not okay. So get out of the fucking habit of doing that. And even though I am bold as anything down there, if anyone ever dares to say that to me, I'll be whipping the merkin out faster than you can say misogynistic beauty standards. So that's how I feel about that. Oh, weirdly, actually, I still grow hair on my kneecaps. It is the weirdest thing. I guess it's like maybe a part of your body where your skin is tough. Wonder why that is. Anyway, and so maybe like the laser doesn't penetrate the skin as well. But like I don't really grow hair on my legs, but I do grow hair on my kneecaps. And one time I was at a friend's birthday. Anyway, ended up going back in an Uber with someone for a hookup. they put their hand on my knee and I was like, I haven't shaved my kneecaps. You know, the age-old thing of being like, I haven't shaved my legs. I can't look up because I haven't shaved my legs. Like, fuck off, let's get rid of that attitude anyway. But it was just the like specifying I haven't shaved my kneecaps, and I hadn't. Not me having like 20 hairs on my kneecaps. It's like so fucking rogue. It's like the only part of my body that I have to look out for. That and like the phantom nipple hair. Where does that come from? Because it must grow fair or like transparent and then turn dark, because I'm like, I don't ever see it in the growing process. Like, where is this growth process of this phantom hair? All of a sudden there's just one. I've got to keep on top of it. I know obviously people have body hair in different areas, and this is just me personally, but for anyone else who has the phantom nipple hair, like, what is that about? Where does it come from? But I just want to reiterate, wherever you have fucking hair on your body, whether it is on your nipples, all over your fucking body, on your butthole, whatever, it is natural. So stop fucking stressing and stop fucking letting people who are ignorant and uneducated make you feel bad about it. But essentially, I hope that you can see that these flaws were invented to shame and belittle women and vulva owners and make them feel forced to adhere to beauty standards that were made up by men. You have been taught to feel this way about yourself. So I understand it's going to take some time to unpack it all, but I need you to know that these things you have been told to consider flaws, they are made up. They aren't real. For centuries, the idea that the earth was flat was taken as truth, despite overwhelming evidence that the earth is round. In the same way that cellulite, stretch marks, body hair are sold as flaws, as something that needs fixing, despite the evidence that they are natural and common for pretty much everyone. And just like some people still try to convince others that the earth is flat, there will always be marketing campaigns that try to convince people that cellulite and other natural body facets are something to be ashamed of or corrected. Both are rooted in myths that do not reflect reality, but why are we so willing to buy into it when it's about our bodies? And when we talk about body confidence, that conversation often centers on female bodies, even though male bodies also face societal pressures around their appearance. And part of that may be because a lot of the unrealistic beauty standards that female bodies face were put in place by men. But I also think we can accept that there is still a huge double standard in terms of what is expected from male and female bodies. And we only have to look at the dad bod and the mum bod for that, because the dad bod seems to represent a shift in how masculinity is viewed. It's seen as approachable, confident, and real compared to the chiseled abs of action heroes. Media and pop culture have helped normalize the dad bod as a sign of maturity, stability, and even success, all traits that many people find attractive. But this celebration reflects leniency towards men's bodies that women simply don't receive. Men are allowed to age and carry the physical markers of parenthood without their attractiveness being questioned. A bit of extra weight on a man is seen as a sign of living a full life. On a woman, it's framed as letting herself go. Women face a mountain of pressure when it comes to their post-baby bodies. And while men are often applauded for dad energy and projecting confidence, women are bombarded with messages about weight loss, flat stomachs, stretch mark creams within weeks of giving birth. The mum bod, the soft stomach that nurtured life, the hips that carried a child, the breasts that might change shape from breastfeeding, is rarely treated as beautiful or worth celebrating in mainstream culture. Instead, women are expected to erase these markers of motherhood as quickly as possible. This obsession with bouncing back not only undermines the physical demands of pregnancy and childbirth, but also dismisses the emotional and mental transformations that come with becoming a parent. And the truth is, mum bods are beautiful and worthy of celebration. They are a testament to resilience and transformation. They are the physical body that has gone through it. And so the dad bod and the mum bod aren't just about body types. They are once again symbols of how society views men and women and how they are willing to make them feel worthy or unworthy. And I do completely understand and empathize that there is male body insecurity too. And this is a space for everyone here. So I'm not at all negating the lack of confidence my penis owners out there might be feeling. I'm just highlighting some societal disparities that we still have to face. And also, I am a cisgender female. So as much as I can learn, I will only ever personally know what it is like to experience this in a female body. But what I do know is that male body image has been shaped by archetypes like the action hero, the sports star, or the suave leading man. And in recent years, I am sure social media has only heightened these pressures, because scrolling through platforms like Instagram often means being inundated with pictures of shredded bodies, strict diets, rigorous workout routines, alpha male influencers who push unattainable ideals, whether it's a lack of visible muscle definition, thinning hair, height, penis size, the pressure to measure up to these unrealistic standards, I am sure can just as much take a serious toll on men's mental health and self-esteem. And height is one of the most visible and unchangeable physical attributes. And for many men, that is a significant source of insecurity, because height is often associated with dominance, confidence, and attractiveness. Taller men are frequently depicted as leaders, protectors, symbols of power. And shorter men are very, very unfairly stereotyped as less capable or less masculine. In fact, studies have literally shown that taller men are often perceived as more authoritative and are even more likely to be promoted to leadership positions. So, of course, for shorter men, these societal biases can lead to feelings of inadequacy, frustration, self-doubt, even though height has no fucking bearing on a person's worth or abilities or attractiveness. Even men who are already physically fit or muscular may perceive themselves as too small or not strong enough. And the pressure to achieve these unrealistic standards can lead to unhealthy behaviors. Over-exercising, restrictive dieting, the use of supplements and steroids, which come with significant physical and psychological risks. Hair loss affects a significant portion of men. A lot more men are starting to get hair transplants these days because around 30% experience noticeable thinning by their 30s. And despite how common it is, it still remains one of men's greatest insecurities, largely because hair is culturally tied to youth and vitality. So the idea of losing hair can feel like losing a part of your identity or masculinity. And as always, the media perpetuates this insecurity by glorifying full, thick hair in advertisements for grooming products, and portrays balding men as older or less virile or less desirable. So this stigma drives, again, money, 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 a booming industry of hair restoration treatments. Again, so many people are going for transplants these days, but also supposedly miracle shampoos, which prey on people's insecurities, but they don't deliver results. And I would like to think that perceptions around hair loss are gradually shifting, because many men are embracing baldness as a confident style choice, which is great, and shaving their heads rather than trying to hide any thinning hair. Like if we look at people like The Rock or Stanley Tucci or Jason Statham, they've all helped normalize boldness as not just acceptable, but attractive, which is great because confidence is far more compelling than a full head of hair. On one hand, men are expected to be rugged and unpolished. On the other hand, they're expected to be well-groomed and maintain a polished appearance. And I know that skincare for men has been normalized now, which cool if that's what you're into, but it also means it's a new focus that amplifies insecurities if people feel like they are not measuring up to these flawless, airbrushed images. And even for male bodies, body hair is another area fraught with mixed messages because whilst chest hair or facial hair is often celebrated as masculine, back hair or shoulder hair can be mocked. And again, that leads men to turn to waxing or laser hair removal, which whatever you want to do for your body is completely fine. But these insecurities, again, are overlooking how diverse and normal body hair is. And I'm not going to go into it much now because I've addressed it at length in previous episodes, but penis size continues to be one of the most intense insecurities that men face. And after centuries of myths, cultural portrayals, and outright misinformation that equate size with masculinity, power, sexual prowess, are we surprised? Especially when we combine this with adult films and locker room banter. The reality is that most men fall within a very normal range, and size matters far less to partners than other factors like confidence, communication, and emotional connection. Yet the cultural fixation on this one aspect of anatomy has driven a surge in products and procedures claiming to enhance size, many of which are not just ineffective, but extremely dangerous. So I think that what we can agree on is the fact that no matter what gender identity you are, the reality is these societal ideals are impossible for most people to achieve. Yet the messages we internalize about what is attractive often lead to feelings of shame and self-doubt when our bodies don't align with them. And the key here is recognizing that these standards are not only unrealistic, but also deeply damaging to our self-esteem and our ability to connect with others. And beyond this media indoctrination, we of course all have our personal stuff. Maybe it's a comment someone made years ago, or just the fact that our bodies change over time. We are all carrying baggage, emotional and physical, and that's okay. The goal here isn't to pretend we are all perfectly secure. It's about learning how to embrace what we've got in a way that is safe and sustainable, not in the aggressive self-love way that Instagram has us believing we should immediately be achieving after a lifetime of self-deprecation. Because mostly, I need you all to know, nobody is judging your body in an intimate moment more than you are. Any sexual partner is most probably just glad to be there. And if they aren't, then that is someone who isn't deserving of being intimate with you, not the other way around. And the key to breaking this cycle is learning to embrace ourselves and realizing that intimacy isn't about being perfect. It's about being real with each other and being vulnerable together. When we stop seeing our bodies through a lens of criticism and start viewing them with kindness, we open ourselves up to deeper connections without the weight of judgment or fear. And this shift doesn't happen instantly, but with a little patience and some self-love and the right support, it is totally achievable. And that journey to body acceptance is going to look different for everyone, but it's a journey that is absolutely worth it for your own happiness and for the health of your relationships. But the good news is that confidence, like any other skill, can be learned over time, and amazing sex isn't about what's on the outside. It's about connection, communication, and feeling safe enough to let loose. Nobody is going to care if you have a zit on your ass. They are just happy to see your ass. So how do we start breaking free from these patterns? Well, number one, off the back of a poll, is practice positive self-talk. Because when I asked you all, how often do you practice positive self-talk about your body? Daily was 6%, 6%, sometimes 28%, rarely 28%, and never 38%. 38% of you are never practicing positive self-talk towards yourselves. And our inner dialogue is huge when it comes to how we feel about ourselves, especially in the bedroom. Because if you're constantly telling yourself things like, I'm not attractive enough, or I don't look the way I should right now, it just puts up a wall between you and enjoying the moment. You get stuck in that negative spiral of self-doubt, and suddenly it's way harder to connect with your partner. So how do we break this cycle? Positive affirmations. Yes, it sounds cheesy, and no, I am not one for toxic positivity by any means, but trust me, they work. Instead of, ugh, I look awful, try and think, I'm worthy of love and pleasure just as I am right now. Or when you start thinking, my stomach looks weird right now, try instead to hit yourself with, my body is strong and it deserves to feel good. And it's going to feel awkward at first, like you're fucking talking to yourself in the mirror. But the more you do it, the more it starts to feel natural. And don't forget to appreciate the good stuff your body does. It's not just about looks. It allows you to feel pleasure. It allows you to connect. It allows you to move. It allows you to have fun. So instead of focusing on what's wrong, start noticing what's right. This mindset shift will help you feel more confident and more comfortable, both in the moment and outside the bedroom. Because confidence starts with how you treat yourself. And with a little practice, you will see your self-talk change for the better. And trust me, it makes a big difference in how you feel about intimacy. So look in the mirror and tell yourself that you are fucking sexy. And one of the most powerful ways to build that confidence is to stop focusing on your appearance and shift the focus to feelings and sensations of intimacy. We've all been conditioned to associate physical attractiveness with sex appeal. But intimacy is about so much more than just how you look. It's about the vibes, the emotions, the connection, the chemistry. When you're in the moment, what matters most is how your body feels, not whether your stomach looks too big or if you can see any cellulite. Because when we get stuck worrying on things like that and how we look, we miss out on what really matters, which is just being present with your partner or partners. So instead of focusing on your appearance, tune in completely to the physical sensations, the touch, the connection, the pleasure of just being close to someone. If you catch yourself spiraling, that's okay. Just take a breath, take a moment and refocus. Because it's always about bringing yourself back to the present moment. Focusing on exactly what is happening in that moment. And letting go of those insecurities. So by shifting your focus from how you look to how you feel, you will find yourself enjoying intimacy way more. And once you start enjoying it more, you'll start to feel more confident. And then that cycle starts to get more positive. And that's where the real confidence starts to come from. Next up, I know that society tells us vulnerability is a weakness, but let's flip that fucking script, because in the bedroom, it's actually one of the strongest tools that you can use to build confidence and deepen your connection. I know opening up about your insecurities can feel scary at first, but trust me, It can make your bond stronger between you and your partner, because when you share your vulnerabilities, you're not only showing trust, but you are also giving your partner the chance to do the same. So maybe you are worried about stretch marks or a certain body part, but guess what? Your partner likely has their own insecurities that they've been keeping to themselves. And the cool part is they probably don't even notice what you think they do, and vice versa. So while you're stressing about your thighs, they might be way more focused on the connection you're having in that moment than any physical flaws. And you might have absolutely no idea what they perceive to be their own flaws, and it could be something you've literally never even thought about for a single second. So being vulnerable opens up a space for both of you to be more compassionate, more empathetic and honest, not just with each other, but also with yourselves. And that is what intimacy is all about. When you both feel comfortable enough to share your concerns, the whole experience becomes less about looking perfect and more about being in the moment and enjoying each other. And let's let go of that whole idea that bringing light to something that you are insecure about isn't sexy, and that you can only be sexy if you are 100% confident and accepting of yourself, which is like highly unlikely anyone is ever going to feel like that about themselves anyway. Vulnerability is sexy. Like, I think there's something really hot about knowing those little tiny parts about someone that someone else might not. Like, that's a hot thing. So let's let go of that whole fucking idea. Again, it's just bullshit that we've been taught. Just talk to your fucking partners. Tell them how you're feeling, because otherwise, what are we even doing? And the truth is, every single body is completely unique. And that's actually something to get really excited about, because our bodies are these amazing but very complex machines, and they are designed for pleasure and for connection. And so instead of constantly comparing ourselves to other crazy, unattainable beauty standards, just focus on what makes our bodies so incredible. Celebrate the way your body moves, the way it feels, and all the joy it brings during the intimate moments. Instead of obsessing over what we think are flaws, why not take one moment to appreciate something your body does for you every single day? Whether that's holding you up, whether it's nurturing you, whether it's letting you experience pleasure, whether it's just keeping you alive, it's literally working overtime. And that is worth celebrating. We live in a world where it's so easy to get caught in the comparison trap, whether it's looking at someone else's body or trying to measure up to some filtered version on social media. But true confidence is about embracing what makes your body yours. Whether it's the changes after having kids, a physical transformation, or just the fact your body is constantly doing its fucking best, each of these milestones deserves respect. So here's a challenge. Start honoring your body's journey. The more you celebrate what makes your body special, the easier it will be to accept it for all that it is. And trust me, the more confident you will feel, not just in your day-to-day life, but in the bedroom too. Take small steps, because building confidence is not a quick fix, it's a journey. And just like any adventure, it's about those small intentional steps. Every little win counts, so celebrate each one as you go. Confidence in the bedroom isn't about achieving the perfect body. It's about feeling comfortable and at ease in your own skin. So let's break it down. Start by taking those tiny actions that make you feel good now. So rock some clothes that make you feel like your best self. You don't have to jump into sexy lingerie right away. Start with a cozy go-to outfit that gives you all the good vibes. When you feel confident in what you're wearing, it's easier to feel that way when you're not wearing anything at all. But as we know, I've said it on so many episodes, I am not a very naked person. And that's not because I don't feel confident in my body. It's just because I fucking love wearing stuff during sex, whether it's like a slip or lingerie or crotchless pants, anything. I just love to have something on. And I think maybe that might just be like the feeling of fabric on my skin or feeling like an element of mystery. I don't even know that I've unpacked why that is, because I'm like okay to be naked and I'm never really thinking about my body. I just like prefer not to be. I just think it's more fun when there's like clothing involved. So that's how I feel. So don't feel like you have to be naked. Like feel comfortable to own what you wear in those intimate moments. You know, some people might feel really hot in like an oversized t-shirt. And if that's what makes you feel hot and it makes you feel sexy, then fucking wear it. Do what you need to do to feel good. And then also find a way to set the scene in a way that makes you feel good. Whether it's the lighting state, you know, dimming the lights or having some candles, whether it's the type of music that you play, but creating the right environment can also work wonders for your confidence in those moments. You know, it's setting the tone, making it feel relaxed. And sometimes whilst you're building up to feeling more confident, you might need to try some mindfulness techniques or like deep breathing to quiet those self-critical thoughts before you enter an intimate moment with a partner or partners, so that you can keep your focus on the moment. But it is a journey. It's not like a one and done. There's going to be highs and lows. There's going to be moments where you're feeling on top of the fucking world and you're like, oh my God, finally I'm confident. And then there's going to be days where you feel a little bit off. And that is really normal. Like I'm generally a pretty confident person, but of course there are days when I'm like, I literally feel like absolute fucking shite. Like I hope no human even glances my way today. It's normal. The key is to just stay patient with yourself. Keep showing yourself self-love and just take it one step at a time. Unfollow the accounts on social media that make you feel like shit. Mute them, unfollow them, block them. I don't give a fuck if they make you feel bad about yourself. That's not why we are supposed to have social media. I've now like tailored my algorithm to mostly be memes, dog videos, and interior design. And other sex educators on social media, because I'm there to invest in things that I want to invest in, whether that is dogs or, you know, things that I can do with my new house when I move into it, or educating myself. I'm not there to be made to feel shit about my body. No one should be on social media to be made to feel shit about their body. If there is an account that makes you feel shit about yourself, mute it, block it, delete it. You don't need to self-torture. You don't need to be self-sabotaging. If you are choosing to keep going on social media and looking at accounts that make you feel bad about yourself, you are a part of your own problem, and you can make it really easy for yourself by just not looking at those accounts. When you want to go and look at one of those accounts on social media, choose not to. Choose to go and look in the mirror and tell yourself something good about yourself. Make that positive choice for yourself. Because the more you practice things like this, the more you practice that self-compassion and self-care, the more confidence you will build in the bedroom and in every other fucking part of your life. Focus on the moment, not on the mirror. And I asked everyone, do you find it easy to communicate your body insecurities with a partner? And 57% said, yes, I'm open about it. And 43% said, no, it's tough. And I'm actually glad that the majority said they are open about it, because I think that's really positive. And for those of you who said, no, it's tough, I need you to know that talking about body insecurities with your partner does not have to be as uncomfortable as it sounds. In fact, it's just, as I've already said, another opportunity to deepen that connection. So allow yourself to approach the conversation with sensitivity and when feels right for you. And just be honest. You know, choose the right time, the right space, and avoid talking about it during intimate moments when your emotions might be heightened. Find a time when you can both be present and listen to each other. And frame the conversation from your perspective, because it is about your perspective. Don't say things like, you must think I look bad. You can say something like, I sometimes feel self-conscious about my body and it can make me feel anxious during intimacy. Focus on how you feel, not on what you think they might be thinking, because they might have no idea that you feel like that about yourself, and they might just be thinking, what the fuck is going on with this beautiful, gorgeous creature in front of me? Why the hell would they think like that? But when you make it about how you feel, that door is open for understanding, and there's no blame and there's no pressure, because the goal is for everyone in these conversations about insecurities to feel safe, to feel like they can also share their feelings as well, because you will probably find they have insecurities of their own. And this type of sharing shows each other that vulnerability isn't a weakness, it's just a form of trust. And the more you talk about these insecurities, the less power they have, the less they will control your experience, and the more comfortable you can feel in your own skin, but also together. And let your partner reassure you, not by trying to fix any of your insecurities, but just let them offer you love and support and believe it. And that brings me to my last poll, which is, when a partner tells you they love a part of your body that you aren't a huge fan of, do you believe them? And 35% said yes, absolutely, which is great. I love that. But 65% said absolutely no way. They are just saying it. And this is like so common when it comes to our bodies. We presume just because we don't like something that no one else will. But we don't question that possibility of liking different things in literally every other aspect. So I love horror films. And some of my friends couldn't think of anything fucking worse than sitting through a horror movie. I hate the colour pink. It's just not for me at all. But Katie Hutton, one of my best friends, I think would literally have everything pink if she could. Her walls, her bed, her clothes, her hair, I don't know. She loves it. It's her favourite colour. She's also moving in with me. So that's a conversation we'll be having about interior design. But I don't think that when Katie tells me she loves pink, that she is lying. I don't think any of my friends think when I say I love horror movies that I'm lying, just because we like different things. And I know that might sound like a really weird way to explain it, but if we can rationalize that we all like different things in every other subject, in every other aspect, you know, my house is decorated kind of maximalist. I like colors, I like patterns, and some people love different shades of grey. But we're all allowed to like different things. And it really just comes down to that. Just because a partner likes a part of our body that we don't like, I'm sort of like making sure that I explain this properly. But just because our partner likes a part of our body that we don't like, why would that be any different to me liking a horror movie and them not liking a horror movie, or them liking pink and me not liking pink, or them liking avocado and someone else not liking, you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of tough to wrap your head around when your partner tells you they love a part of your body that you are not particularly fond of, because you think they're just saying that to make me feel better, or they can't possibly mean that. But we're so willing to accept that we have differing opinions on what we like and don't like in every other aspect. And if your partner didn't like something about themselves and you liked it, you'd want them to know that that was genuine, right? And it's totally okay for your partner to love something about your body that you don't. And it probably happens way more often than we'd even consider, because we are our own harshest critics. The things we obsess over, the tiny things we see, probably aren't even registered with our partners, or they might love them. So just because you don't like your cellulite, your partner might fucking love the feel running their hand on your thigh and feeling it and feeling that texture on your skin and feeling those dimples. They might fucking absolutely adore it. They might find it so unbelievably sexy. They're focused on you and they will appreciate things about your body that you are too self-conscious to even register or notice. You know, they might love the fucking stretch marks that show the journey your body has been on, or the way your body curves when you are comfortable and relaxed, because these things have nothing to do with perfection. They're about attraction, connection, the little things that make you you. And it's really important to remember that body confidence doesn't require you to love every inch of yourself all the time, but it is actually okay if your partner does. In fact, their admiration can be a reminder that our insecurities don't define how we are seen or how we are loved. So the next time your partner tells you they love something about your body that you don't, trust that it's true. They are seeing you in a way that celebrates all the parts of you, not just the ones you feel self-conscious about. And as a result, you might just start to appreciate those parts a little more as well, because these details might be the very things that make you unforgettable to them. So when they say they love them, it's not just a kind word. It's them truly appreciating the authentic you. And let them fucking do it. So please look in the mirror right now and tell yourself, I am fucking sexy and me and my body are both deserving of pleasure. Friends, lovers, listeners, thank you so much for joining me today. And I hope that you found some nuggets of wisdom to take with you, whether that's just learning the bullshit behind the way we feel and why we feel it, whether it's learning to embrace your body's uniqueness, to communicate openly with your partner about your insecurities, or just reminding yourself that confidence doesn't mean perfection. It just means self-acceptance. Intimacy is about connection, vulnerability, trust, and the more we let go of these shitty societal standards, the more room we make for genuine, fulfilling experiences with ourselves and our partners. It's okay to have days where you feel less than confident. It's all part of the journey, but as we all work on self-love, positive self-talk, you will realize that what truly matters is how we all show up for ourselves. And then, as a result, those we care about. And I need you to remind yourselves every single fucking day, you are worthy of love, you are worthy of pleasure, you are worthy of intimacy exactly as you are. And I went on and on in this episode because I feel very passionately about this topic and about all the shit we've been indoctrinated into. And I really need people to see how much we have to look at before we can even begin to unpack. So I know that I really went into it, and a lot of questions were sent in this week. So I will, as the last series, do a similar thing. I will do a Sunday spooning where I address all of your questions, and hopefully some of those answers will help to further inform onwards from this episode. So please just hold fire for that, and those questions will be answered for you on Sunday. But thank you again for tuning in today. I hope you carry this message with you. Embrace your body, embrace your journey, and know that you deserve to feel confident and connected in every moment. Until next time, take care of yourself. And remember, you are doing and looking fucking amazing. I will see you very soon for Sunday spooning. So feel free to start sending over any other questions you might have about your body, body confidence, or anything related to that. And I will see you very, very soon. But for now, thanks for coming. Thank you for tuning in to Sex on the Peach today, and I hope that you enjoyed this week's episode.
You can find and follow me on Instagram, YouTube and TikTok at Sex on the Peach Cast, and you can also get in touch with me at sexonthepeachcast@gmail.com. Please do continue to like, share, subscribe, rate and review wherever you listen to your podcasts, and I'll see you next week. Love, Peach.